The defiance at the gate the colony was silent that morning. The sun rose over broken buildings and dusty roads, and the air carried the weight of fear. Alien patrols walked in lines, their metal boots hitting the ground like hammers. The people of the human colony kept their heads low. No one dared to look into the glowing eyes of the alien police. For years, humans had been ordered to obey, and those who refused disappeared, never to return. In the center of the marketplace, the aliens had set up their checkpoint. They stood near a tall steel gate that led to the supply stores. Every family had to give a portion of their food and water to the alien guards. This was the rule. No one questioned it, no one dared. The people lived with empty stomachs, but the aliens feasted. This was the way of things, or so everyone believed. But today, something was different. A man named Daniel walked slowly toward the gate. He carried a bag of bread and dried fruits on his back. The food was not much, but to the starving children hiding in his street, it meant survival. His face was calm, but his steps were steady. He had already decided what he would do. One of the alien police stepped forward. His voice was sharp and cold. "Human, stop there, leave the supplies. You have no right to carry them without permission." Daniel looked at the alien without fear. His voice was firm. "This food is for children." "I will not give it to you," the crowd gasped. All around him, men and women pulled back. Some even covered their mouths as if Daniel had spoken the most dangerous words in the galaxy. The alien's eyes glowed brighter. His sharp teeth showed as he hissed, "You dare defy the law?" Daniel did not move. He adjusted the bag on his back and repeated, "I said no." His voice was not loud, but it cut through the silence like a blade. The alien guard raised his weapon, aiming it at Daniel's chest. Around them, human families held their breath. Mothers pulled their children closer. Everyone knew what came next. They had seen it before. Humans struck down for even smaller acts of defiance, but Daniel did not step back. His hands stayed at his sides, his shoulders squared. His eyes burned with quiet fire. Another alien officer joined in, his voice mocking. "Do you think you are a warrior, human? You are nothing. You have no army. You have no power. You have nothing but fear." Daniel's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "Then you should be afraid of me." "Because I have nothing to lose." The alien struck him across the face with a metal claw. The crowd flinched. Daniel fell to the ground, but he did not let go of the bag. Blood dripped from his lip as he pushed himself back to his feet, his voice steady again. "I will not bow," the aliens hissed in anger. One of them marked his face with a red scanner. A glowing symbol appeared on his cheek. An alien mark of punishment. It meant he was now a target. He would be hunted, destroyed, his home burned, his family, if he had any, erased. The crowd whispered in fear. Some begged him to surrender. "Daniel, please, give them the food." Others cried softly, "You will bring death on us all." But Daniel did not listen. His gaze stayed locked on the alien guard. His heart pounded, yet he did not tremble. The alien leader growled, "We will return for you, human, and when we do, you will regret your words." He turned to the others. "Mark this one. His defiance will be crushed as a warning to all." Daniel stood tall, wiping the blood from his mouth. "Then let them all see me. Let them see that a human can say no." The aliens marched away, but not in silence. They spoke into their comms, sending signals up to the sky. Everyone could see the streaks of light flashing above the clouds. Alien ships moved in orbit, preparing. The crowd began to scatter. Some people hurried into their homes, slamming doors and windows shut. Others stared at Daniel with wide eyes, torn between fear and awe. No one had ever dared to stand like this. Not in so many years. Daniel walked back slowly, step by step, the bag of food still on his back. His jaw hurt, his cheek burned from the mark. But inside his chest, something stronger than fear was growing. A child ran to him, pulling at his arm. "Mr. Daniel, will they hurt you?" the boy asked, his small face pale, his voice shaking. Daniel bent down and handed the boy a piece of bread. He smiled softly, even as the pain cut through him. "Do not worry. They can hurt me, but they cannot take away my choice." The boy clutched the bread. Tears in his eyes. Behind him, other children watched with silent wonder. The night was coming, the air was heavy. The colony was filled with whispers. The aliens will return. The fleet will come. He has doomed us all. But in Daniel's heart, a different thought burned. His act of defiance was small. Just a single word. No. but it had echoed louder than any weapon, and deep in the silence of the night while the people hid and trembled, Daniel sat at his table, placed the bag of food beside him, and waited. He did not wait with fear. He waited with fire in his soul, for he knew one truth. A single defiance could change everything, and the aliens had no idea what storm they had just awakened. The night of waiting. The colony grew silent after the sun went down. Homes shut their doors, curtains pulled tight. Lamps were dimmed so the patrol ships above would see nothing. But even in darkness, the people could not sleep. The name on everyone's lips was the same, Daniel. He had stood against the alien police at the gate. He had refused to bow, refused to give food, and for that, the aliens had marked him. Every person in the colony knew what the mark meant. It was not just a threat, it was a death sentence. Daniel sat alone in his small house at the edge of the street. The walls were cracked, the floor was rough, but the room carried warmth from the single lantern he had lit. He placed the bag of food on the table and broke off pieces, handing them to children who had slipped quietly into his home. They were hungry, and yet even as they ate, their eyes kept darting toward the door. "Will they come tonight?" one of them whispered. Her voice was thin, like dry leaves scratching across stone. Daniel looked at her gently. "Yes, they may," he said. "But we will not hide." The girl's eyes widened. "But they will kill you." Daniel smiled faintly, though his heart was heavy. "If they do, then remember this moment. Remember that a human said no." The children ate in silence. The sound of chewing was soft but clear in the quiet room. Outside, the wind howled across empty streets, carrying dust and whispers through the broken alleys. Above the clouds, the alien fleet stirred. Ships shifted like sharks circling their prey. Red signals flashed across the night sky, invisible to most human eyes, but clear enough for the patrol leaders below. The aliens were not simply angry. They were preparing something larger, something cruel back in the colony square. A few brave men gathered in hushed voices. They spoke of Daniel's defiance. Some called him a fool, others a hero. "He has doomed us all," one man said. "The fleet will burn us for his pride." Another shook his head. "No, maybe this is what we needed." Someone had to be first. The argument grew, but the fear was the same. Everyone knew the aliens would not ignore defiance. They would return, stronger, in his house. Daniel sat by the window. He had given the last of the bread to the children, and now only silence kept him company. His hands rested on the table. His face calm, he did not shake, though he knew death was near. He thought of the colony, of the years of submission, of humans bending their heads like broken branches before the storm. He thought of the empty stomachs, the sick children, the hopeless eyes, and something inside him hardened like steel. A faint knock came at the door. Daniel rose slowly and opened it. An old woman stood outside. Her face lined with age, her eyes filled with tears. She placed a trembling hand on his arm. "Why did you do this, Daniel?" "Why now?" he answered softly. "Because if no one says no, they will think we are less than alive." The woman shook her head. Unable to argue, she pressed a small wooden cross into his palm. "Take this, it belonged to my son. He did not return when they took him." She turned away before her tears could be seen. Daniel closed the door, holding the cross tightly. He placed it beside the lantern, its shadow long across the wall. Outside, the ground rumbled. A low growl came from the sky as the alien ships adjusted their orbit. Lights blinked faintly through the clouds. Like red eyes staring down, the night was not peaceful. It was a beast waiting to strike. Children peeked through cracks in their homes. Adults whispered prayers, and somewhere, a baby cried into the silence. The whole colony felt trapped between fear and expectation. Daniel, however, did not hide. He opened his door wide and sat at the table with the lantern burning bright. His shadow stretched out into the night. A silent message: "I am here, I will not run." Time passed slowly. The moon crossed the sky. The night seemed endless. Every sound, every gust of wind, every scrape of stone made the colony tremble. They expected the aliens to strike at any moment, yet the fleet above held still, waiting, circling, watching. In the distance, the alien police spoke into their comms. "Orders have been given. The fleet will descend at first light. The human will be made example." Their voices carried across static, their confidence sharp. But Daniel heard nothing of their words. He sat quietly, his eyes fixed on the stars through his small window. He thought of Earth, far away. He thought of the day humans might finally rise again. He wondered if his single act would matter, If his voice would echo beyond this colony. He touched the wooden cross again, whispering softly to himself. They believe I'm alone. They do not understand humanity outside. The streets grew colder, the night pressed heavier. And yet within that small house, a strange warmth remained, not the warmth of fire, but of defiance, of spirit. When dawn's first light began to stretch over the horizon, the people of the colony had not slept. Their eyes turned upward, watching as massive alien ships slowly moved from orbit. Their shadows rolled across the sky like thunderclouds. The night of waiting was over, and now the day of judgment had come, the arrival of the fleet. The first rays of sunlight touched the colony, but instead of warmth, the day brought shadows. The sky darkened as alien ships broke through the clouds. Massive and heavy, their hulls glowed with crimson light. Like burning scars across the heavens, children cried out as the ground shook. Dust fell from rooftops, old walls cracked. The sound of engines roared like thunder rolling across the land. No human in the colony had ever seen so many ships gathered at once. Dozens hung in the air and more kept descending from orbit. Their black shapes swallowed the morning sky. At the center of the square, the alien police assembled. Their armor reflected the red glow from the ships above. Their leader stepped forward, tall and armored in silver. His voice echoed through an amplifier, sharp and merciless. Bring the defiant human forward. He will answer for his crime. The crowd stirred nervously, eyes turned toward Daniel's house at the edge of the street. People whispered, he will die today, or why did he not run? Some prayed, others cursed, but no one moved to stop what was coming. The door creaked open and Daniel walked out. His steps calm, his hands empty. The red mark still burned on his cheek. The bag of food was gone, given away to hungry children during the night. His figure looked small against the army waiting for him, yet his back remained straight. The alien soldiers pushed the crowd aside. Forming a path, Daniel walked without hesitation. His boots echoed against the broken stones. Every heartbeat in the colony seemed to match his steps, slow, steady. When he reached the square, the alien leader spoke again, his voice full of arrogance. Human, you dared to defy the law, you dared to insult our order. You dared to stand against us alone. Tell me now, do you still refuse? Daniel lifted his head. His voice was not loud, but it carried across the silence. Yes, a hush swept across the crowd. The word was small, but it struck harder than thunder. The alien leader snarled, his sharp teeth flashed. You are nothing, you have no army, no weapons, no allies. You are a single man. Daniel's eyes did not leave his. Sometimes one is enough. The alien raised his hand, and instantly, dozens of weapons pointed at Daniel. The red lights of the rifles glowed against his chest. Mothers screamed, children hid their faces. Many begged, please stop, he is only one man. But the aliens were not listening. They wanted a show of dominance, they wanted fear to return. As the leader prepared to give the final command, a sound echoed above, a deep vibration cut through the sky, different from the alien engines, stronger, heavier, like a drumbeat of war. Everyone looked upward. The alien ships began to shift nervously. Their formation rippled. Commanders shouted orders through comms. The sound grew louder, closer. The clouds broke again, this time with light. Out of hyperspace, massive human warships tore into view, their hulls silver and black, lined with glowing blue engines. Each ship was larger than anything the colony had ever seen. They spread across the sky like a steel storm. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The colony gasped as one. Their mouths fell open, their hearts pounded. The alien leader froze, his arrogance cracked. Impossible, he whispered. Daniel's lips curled into the faintest smile. His eyes reflected the glow of the human fleet above. You were wrong, he said softly. I was never alone. The alien soldiers hesitated. Their weapons still aimed, but their hands shook. Their glowing eyes flickered with doubt. The crowd of humans who had moments ago whispered in fear now began to murmur with something else. Hope. The largest human ship descended lower, casting a colossal shadow across the alien fleet. Its cannons glowed, ready to fire. Its voice system crackled through the air. This colony is under human protection. Stand down. The alien commander's face twisted. His pride battled his fear. He raised his claw, but his soldiers no longer moved. They too could see the truth against such force. Their power was nothing. The crowd erupted in cries, some shouting in disbelief, some in joy. Tears streamed down faces for the first time in years. They looked at the sky not with fear, but with pride. Daniel stood at the center, the mark on his cheek burning like a badge. He had not called the fleet, but his act had been enough. One human saying no had reached across the stars. His defiance had become a signal. The alien leader lowered his claw slowly, his voice shaking. "This is not over, human. This will bring war." Daniel's eyes narrowed, his voice steady. "Then let it. Humanity does not fear war." The morning sun finally broke free, shining between human and alien ships. But its light did not warm. It revealed the beginning of something far greater. The balance of power had shifted, and it had started with one man standing at a gate. Humanity answers. The sky was torn between two powers. On one side, the alien fleet hovered, red and black like vultures ready to strike. On the other, the human warship stood in formation, silver lines glowing with blue fire. They did not tremble. They did not hide. They stood like guardians returned from the edge of the stars. The colony below was frozen in awe. Men and women clutched their children, staring at the ships that filled the heavens. For so long they had lived under alien rule, believing humanity was broken, scattered. But now, in one moment, they saw the truth. Humanity had not vanished. Humanity had returned. The alien commander barked into his comms. His voice cracked with anger. "Form attack lines. Surround the colony. Fire if they advance." But his soldiers hesitated. Their claws tightened on their rifles, but their eyes darted to the massive shadows above. No one wanted to be the first to die under the guns of the human fleet. Then the largest human warship lowered closer, its hull blocking the sun. Its weapons hummed with deep power. A voice thundered from its comms, strong and clear. "This colony belongs to humanity. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." The aliens hissed in rage, but the sound of their anger was drowned by the cheers of the humans below. For years their voices had been silent. Now they rose like a storm. "Humanity! Humanity!" echoed through the streets. Daniel stood at the center of the square. He looked up at the sky, the glow of the ships reflecting in his eyes. The mark of defiance on his cheek burned brighter in the morning light. He had not sent for them, yet they had come. Drawn by a single spark of resistance, the alien commander stepped forward, his armor shining cruelly. "You think your ships will save you? You think we will bow to your kind again?" His voice shook not with courage but with desperation. Daniel faced him, his voice calm and steady. "We do not ask you to bow. We only remind you. We will never bow again." The human fleet shifted, lines of ships opening their wings. Thousands of cannons glowed with blue energy. The air trembled. The ground shook under the sound of war engines charging. The colony watched with wide eyes as the heavens themselves seemed ready to burn. The alien soldiers stumbled back. Their claws shook on their weapons. They were used to weak humans, broken humans, silent humans. They had never faced humanity like this, united, powerful, waiting above them with the patience of predators. The alien commander tried once more, shouting into his comms, "Prepare to fire! Show them our strength!" But his voice no longer carried authority. His soldiers did not move, their formation broke. Their fear was too great. The human fleet gave its answer. Not with words, but with power. The lead warship fired a single warning shot. A streak of blue energy tore across the sky. It struck the barren hills beyond the colony. The ground exploded in fire, stone and dust rising high like a mountain breaking apart. The shockwave rattled every bone in the colony. Windows shattered, walls cracked. Yet the humans below did not cry out in fear, they cheered, for the fire was not aimed at them. It was aimed at their oppressors. The alien fleet staggered. Their ships shifted nervously. Commanders shouted, but their orders clashed. Some called for retreat, others for attack. Confusion spread like poison. The colony's people saw it for the first time. They saw their oppressors hesitate. They saw the mighty alien police, their so-called rulers, tremble under the shadow of human power. Daniel lifted his head, his voice carried through the chaos. "You called me nothing. You marked me for death. And yet here stands the truth, one human is never alone. Wherever we are, humanity answers," the alien commander roared in fury, his pride bleeding away. "This will mean war. You dare challenge the Empire?" The human warship above gave its reply, its voice like steel. "War is already here, and it is not we who should fear it." Silence followed, silence heavier than thunder. The alien fleet hung in the air, Uncertain, the humans below stood taller, their backs straighter. Their fear melted into pride for the first time. Children laughed at the sky instead of crying. The alien commander's claws trembled. He looked at Daniel with hatred, with fear, with disbelief. One man had stood, one word had been spoken, and now an entire fleet stood ready to burn his empire's arrogance. Daniel did not smile, he did not celebrate. He simply stood as he always had, calm, steady, unbroken. The fire in his eyes matched the fire in the sky. The day had begun not with surrender, but with humanity's answer. And it was an answer the galaxy would never forget. The legacy of defiance. The alien fleet hung in silence above the colony. Their red lights flickered nervously. Their weapons glowed but did not fire. For the first time, the balance of power had shifted. They had always ruled with fear. Yet today it was they who trembled. The human fleet remained steady, thousands of ships standing like guardians in the morning sky. The silence between them was louder than any battle cry. Every child, every mother, every man in the colony stared upward, their hearts beating as one. The alien commander's claws shook. His voice cracked as he spoke into his comms. "Pull back. Pull the fleet back." His pride could not hide the fear in his tone. Ships turned slowly, breaking formation. Their engines roared as they rose higher. Vanishing into the clouds, they had come to crush one man. But instead they left in humiliation. The colony erupted in cries, not of fear but of joy. People hugged one another. Tears rolled down faces that had only known suffering. For the first time in years, the sound of laughter filled the air. It was raw, it was real, it was freedom. Daniel stood quietly in the square. His cheek still burned with the alien mark. But now it looked less like a punishment and more like a badge. He had not raised a weapon. He had not led an army. Yet the galaxy had seen what his defiance had brought. A young boy ran to him. The same child who had asked the night before if the aliens would hurt him. He looked up at Daniel with wide eyes. "You didn't run. You didn't bow." And they left. His small voice carried wonder. Daniel knelt down, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Remember this, child," he said softly. "Courage is not about having no fear. It is about standing even when fear is all around you." The boy nodded slowly, clutching the piece of bread Daniel had given him the night before. His eyes shone not with hunger now, but with hope. The old woman who had given Daniel the wooden cross stepped forward. Her hands trembled, her eyes wet with tears. "You lit the fire we thought was gone," she whispered. "You reminded us who we are." Daniel shook his head. "I only said no, the rest." The rest was humanity answering. Above them, the human fleet began to move. Some ships broke away, patrolling the skies. Others remained in orbit, watching, guarding. It was not just a rescue, it was a message. A message to every colony still under alien rule. Humanity had returned. News of the defiance spread faster than light. From one colony to the next, whispers carried the story. They spoke of a man who refused to bow, of a mark on his face, of an alien fleet forced to retreat. They spoke of the return of human warships, of voices rising again. The galaxy, once blind to human strength, now trembled with the knowledge of it. The empire that had mocked humanity now feared its shadow. Daniel returned to his small house that evening. The lantern still burned. The wooden cross still lay on the table. The chair creaked as he sat down. He looked at the stars through his cracked window. His lips curved into a faint smile. He did not think of himself as a hero. He thought only of the choice he had made, one word, one act. Yet he knew now that even the smallest spark could set fire to the heavens. Children played in the street outside. Their laughter loud, their voices free. For years, they had hidden in silence. Now they shouted into the air without fear. Mothers looked up at the sky with tears of relief. Fathers stood taller, their backs no longer bent. The colony was alive again. Daniel leaned back, whispering to himself. They thought one man was nothing, but one man was enough. And so the story began, not just of Daniel, but of a people who remembered their strength. Across the stars, his defiance would echo, reminding all humanity may bend, but it never breaks. The mark on his cheek glowed faintly in the lantern light. No longer a symbol of submission, but a warning to every empire, every oppressor, every ruler who thought humanity weak. The legacy of defiance was written that day, not in blood, but in fire, not in war, but in courage, and it was carried not by fleets, not by weapons, but by a single human voice that dared to say no. And as the stars shimmered above, it felt as if the entire galaxy was listening, waiting for the next word, the next act, the next spark. For the story of one man had become the story of all humanity.